Good afternoon, sir. Krishnan, sir.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, are you ready from your side?
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Okay. So, good afternoon, participants. Our last session of day 4. Now we are starting last session. The esteemed speaker is Dr. Dora Krishnan from is technical and training expert from Dassault System India Private Limited is already with us. And before he start his talk, now I would like to introduce you with the Dr. Dora Krishnan. So, Dr. Dora Krishnan is an industry process consultant and Dassault Systems India Private Limited, associated with the Similia brand of solutions, is a part of technical services and pre-sales supporting training customers spread over automotive, industrial equipments, energy, defense, civil, etc. industries. He specializes in advanced topics such as non-linear FEA, materials modeling, and multi-physics simulations. He is in recent times working with customers on using simulation of additive manufacturing to better design lightweight components and complex assemblies. He received his PhD in mechanical sciences and engineering from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, USA. He has published a number of papers in top journals such as ASME, Journal of Engineering Materials and Technology, Journal of Mechanical Physics and of Solids, and presented in number of conferences worldwide such as IMECE, SES, MRS, etc. in the field of complex material modeling for FEA and multi-physics simulation. So I request Dr. Dora Krishnan to deliver his talk in our esteemed FDP at LNCT Bhopal, organized under the scheme Atal FDP. So over to you, sir. You can start, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks for the kind introduction. The agenda for my presentation is to talk about design and simulation technologies for additive manufacturing. Hope I'm audible enough. Can you
Yes,
just
sir. Yes, sir. You are audible. So
screen
you
is
can
also
continue,
visible?
sir. Yes, sir. Screen is clearly visible. You are clearly audible, sir.
Thank you. My presentation is going to be on simulation topics. So just to set the context, as you all know, simulation is basically used to get more understanding about the real world and to reveal the different insights about what are all the different functionalities for many applications. So it can be applicable in the different industries like transportation, aerospace, life sciences, energy applications, and so on. So simulation and in Dassault Systems, our brand of simulation is called as Simulia, and we are associated with the technologies that help to reveal the world that we are living in. So simulation helps to hello.
No, sir. No problem.
Okay.
Excuse me. You can continue, sir.
Okay. Simulation helps to leverage we need to leverage the key values of simulation. One is to increase the amount of innovation that we come up with in our new designs, and also explore the design options that one has, and to handle the huge amount of complexity that is there in the real world applications. We also need to be able to use simulation to manage that level of complexity, and obviously with the impact on reduction of costs, optimization is also important factor that we need to consider, and we have to reduce the time to market, because there is urgent need. There is so much of development which is happening at a very fast pace that the designers and the engineers are left with very tight timelines to execute the innovations and the projects. And we also have to ensure that whatever we are making is failure proof, and the risk of any failure is also very, very limited. So a lot of risk mitigation is also necessary. So these are the key values that simulation can help in addressing, and we are focusing on these kind of ideas to where we can put simulation to best use. Just before I start, so just to give an introduction to Dassault Systems. So Dassault Systems is a scientific company which works on the intersection of the science, technology, and art for sustainable society. There are over 17,000 people from different all parts of the world, and developing very game-changing solutions like the 3D experience, which is we believe will truly transform the world. And we have a large number of customers. Then we have worked with partners, integrators, educational institutions, and R&D institutions, and so on. So the legacy of Dassault Systems started off in 1981 with the 3D design for the Dassault group, which progressed to developing the software for a digital mock-up solution of end-to-end product like the aircraft, which is developed by the Dassault Aviation. And eventually it spun off into the 3D PLM lifecycle management products like CATIA and so on. And now, in the past decade, we have developed into the 3D experience platform, which is basically the platform where you can leverage the end-to-end solutions that our company has to offer on a single platform. So I'll talk about this a little bit to set the context. So with regards to the topic that I'll be talking on, so we will be leveraging the technologies and the software solutions that Dassault Systems 3D Experience platform gives to be able to come up with an end-to-end solution for a requirement like additive manufacturing. So as you all know, additive manufacturing helps in reduce lightweighting and coming up with innovative design concepts. So we need to work on a way for identifying the requirements and to automate the best practices to generate designs. So we need to optimize with a design exploration standpoint. And then once that design is identified, we also need to virtually validate it by understanding the physics of the problem and solve the simulation considering all the scenarios or the load cases that the component will experience, right from the coupon level or the small material property level to the complete part level functionality. And the platform helps to automate through different rules and templates to enable one to replicate the workflow. And subsequently, there is a lot of testing that needs to be done to validate any innovation, and so we can leverage the test data management that we are able to offer to on the platform to do the complete physical testing to confirm with our virtual validation. So before I go into the details, I'll just give a precursor in terms of setting up the context for additive manufacturing. So as you can see here, additive manufacturing involves very complex design functionality, right from designing the part, that is to optimize the part for or reducing the weight. As you know, material is very expensive, and the cost of manufacturing and the cost of waste that goes into machining can be substantially mitigated with these kind of new technologies and innovations. As you can see, like these kind of organic shapes which offer the necessary protection and durability are kind of game-changing technologies in lightweighting concepts. So the different part properties, the surface finish, the cost of manufacturing, all these become key requirements for ensuring the success of the design program. What are the typical challenges that one is looking at and to see how we can leverage simulation to address? So right from the design part, where you have materials of different types, where we are having materials of different types, right from metal, plastic, ceramics, and also different requirements, right from the stiffness as well as the compliance requirement, which need to be considered upfront in the design stage. And in the manufacturing, there are a number of challenges in terms of how do we, what material choice do we take, what is the impact of the design on the production, and what is the productivity for this part of a design, and so on. And likewise, once the part is manufactured, whether it is possible to meet the necessary inside manufacturing capability, or whether it is going to have any failures, or what is the durability or the life cycle of this part. So all these are different challenges which are new, which have already been addressed in engineered components, and these kind of get manifested in a different way when it comes to new technologies like additive manufacturing. So as you know, the challenges range right from the, especially with regards to metal additive manufacturing, where we are converting a powder into a 3D part. So the fascinating thing is we are looking at creating something ground up, right from the powder form, right from the integral material form to a complete functioning part. So uh, uh, that is the kind of the power of this innovative manufacturing technology, where we need to think about, or where we have the opportunity to come up with very unique designs with regards to additive manufacturing. And with the pace at which manufacturing technologies are catching up, we are able to leverage these kind of innovative machines, which allow us for multi-laser manufacturing, and also creating different high quality finishes with low defects and the field behavior aspects. So these are all amplified when you consider the use of the innovations in the software technologies that are available at our disposal right now. So you have the state of the art CAD solution working in tandem with the simulation, and also the innovations of the machine to be able to come up with new design programs. So earlier, these kind of workflows, especially in the design, used to be like file based. Now with the innovations like we offer, we are able to reduce the time cycle for these kind of addressing the challenges from months to weeks. So these are some of the benefits of how we, by going digital, we are able to use domain specific tools and work in a collaborative environment to eliminate the different silos that occur when you are working individually. Like say the designer is working out of sync with the manufacturer, who's out of sync with the supplier, and so on. So the digital platform helps to connect these different silos and unite all the functionals, which can eventually provide the best business benefit, and leverage sustainable innovation to come up with a better product design. So the 3D Experience platform is a data-driven platform which is connecting the different silos in a model-based virtual real environment. And so it works similar to an app store, where you have a platform like a Windows system or an Apple iOS, where you have these different apps which are plugged in, and all our apps are developed in house. We can develop apps for CATIA, for which is for 3D modeling, for Simulia for simulation, for the backend data management, and so on. So these technologies are what we are going to use, and we provide for doing our overall end-to-end life cycle of simulations for additive manufacturing. So these give us the tools that are necessary to come up with new ways to engineer the products at different scales and to enable innovation in a very efficient manner. So this is what we call as the 3D experience compass. So I won't go into too much details now. If anybody is interested, please do feel free to get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to talk about what we offer in complete detail.
Okay, sir.
And these are the different industries and the different brands that we work. So we are working with in the 3D modeling apps from CATIA, SolidWorks, and BioVia for the modeling, and for simulation we are doing the Simulia applications like say Abacus, and also for Delmia for the manufacturing and so on. So moving on to the topic of my presentation. So my topic is going to be on additive manufacturing. And so we want to look at a way of enhancing the performance of any 3D printed part. So how do we develop technologies or software tools which allow the designer and the manufacturer to improve their turnaround time as well as the product functionality. So now we need to work with the different solutions that we offer. So we offer design solutions through our applications on CATIA brand, which I'll talk about in more detail to set the different tools that we provide. Then how do we manufacture or represent in a simulation standpoint the manufacturing process of additive manufacturing? And through our Simulia applications, we look at virtually simulating the process of additive manufacturing and come out with simulation based or FEA based insights into the performance fashion. And finally, to take advantage of the design tools to be able to understand what is the discrepancy or the difference between the part that was designed to part that was virtually printed. So first part we focus on is to be able to create a design for a certain requirement. So we have a certain component which we are trying to, or a certain assembly which we are trying to make it better, reduce the weight, make it look better, or maybe function better, and so on. So the first part of the work is to be able to come up with a nice, innovative, lightweighted, optimized design which meets the different criteria. So that is what we call as the functionally generative design workflow. And here we leverage different technologies like topology optimization and shape optimization to come up with very nice designs which meet the requirements of the load cases, which in the back end work on what we call as the finite element topology optimization solver that we have. So even at the design stage, we leverage finite element analysis along with optimization capabilities to do a topology as well as a shape optimization. So the second part of that work is once we have finalized the design, then we can take it into virtually modeling the manufacturing process. So you need to prepare the build for the additive manufacturing and to identify what are the different orientations, the supports, the scan path strategy, and so on, which are necessary and key part of the manufacturing. So these are some things which we are doing. These are some things which we are doing even before we even talk about what is the manufacturing machine or what is the process. So we can do everything virtually, even without stepping out of our platform environment. So we look at the manufacturing build planning, and once we have set that up, we can seamlessly connect it to our virtual printing solution. And in the virtual printing simulations, what we are doing is to be able to predict the thermal history. Can we have some of the audience, the audio disturbance, can it be reduced? Thank you. The virtual printing, where we are looking at the thermal history of the part which is being printed in the process of solidification of the powder into the part, the different material properties along with its microstructure and porosity that occur at the melt pool phase transformations, which eventually result in the distortions due to strains or residual stresses that are developed during the process of phase transformation and melt solidification. So that we have developed the necessary tools which I'll be talking about over the course of this session, and share with you the different technologies that we offer for enhancing the value of the design simulation. And once the designed simulation part workflow is completed, then the objective is to be able to see how to improve the design based on the distortion. So any distortion is unavoidable. I mean, some amount of distortion in the part which is designed is unavoidable, and whenever we are going to print, then we have to take into account that distortion in our original design. So we can extract the what we call as the displacement vector fields and transform our original design and basically our production shape itself. So this we call it as the shape compensation, which is leveraged through our 3D modeling applications under the CATIA. So the first part, which will help us to generate the optimized lightweight design, again through a simulation, is called as functional generative design. And let me take you through some snapshots and key aspects of the process. So the workflow is like you start off with a certain requirement. So you are trying to maybe reduce the weight of a part, like say you're looking at a bike swing arm. The swing arm is made up of multiple parts. Say in another application, you're looking at like say a hydraulic manifold, and you're looking at some flow conditions which could be optimized. So the generative design is not only limited to structural; it could also be limited. It could also be through some sort of a flow optimization in either of these cases. So you have such requirements, and then what we need to do is to start off with what we call as the design space setup. So you indicate that, okay, so this is the space or the overall volume in which my final part should appear into. And then we set up the different constraints and the targets, like say any boundary conditions, like say you are fixing up a certain part in a assembly, like say like a swing arm in a chassis and so on. So there will be certain points in which we want to constrain, and then we can specify the targets, like say for the design space I want to reduce the volume to a certain level. Okay, my mass of the part that I'm getting optimized should be so much and so much. And then we can give the loads and boundary conditions and any manufacturability conditions. Like so, this workflow is not only limited to additive manufacturing; it can be used for coming up with a manufacturable part, like say a part which can be casted or milled and so on. So each of these processes have a certain manufacturability constraint which can be given. And at the background, our topology optimization software works with Abaqus, which are the leading FEA-based optimization solutions, which is using these FEA technologies to come up with a design exploration standpoint, like what we are looking at the steps 4 and 5. And then we come up with a design which we can study with the different load cases which we have used at the optimization, and come up with a detailed analysis. So we even seamlessly come up with multiple concept shapes. Like say you have a part which is having say a mass of X, and then you have another design concept at say at a mass of Y, and you have another design concept which is having certain features, and we call that a Z. And then so you can do a concept selection based on these, and you can seamlessly analyze against these different KPIs, so the key performance indicators, to understand which is giving me a better design. And then once we do that, we can go in for a detailed design and validate that and even make it. So our additive manufacturing with the functional generative design, as you can see in the animation, you're looking at a part. The design space is shown here, where we have a design space which encompasses a larger volume. Then we constrain it at certain locations wherever we are fixing it up, and also we then specify the loads. Like say in this case, some bearing load is given, and we are fixing up certain locations. And then we can give different manufacturability constraints, like say casting, milling, and so we have a set of design shapes, design choices, and then we can seamlessly validate those with the loads, and then evaluate what is the trade-offs and which is a good choice of the design. I'm just playing a quick video just to show you the workflow process. It does not have an audio, so you can just see in more kind of a larger format the workflow that we just talked about. So here you're looking at the design space creation for this part, which is shown here. So this is the design space. So we will set up the model quickly to as we discussed, and measure it, and then constrain it and apply the necessary loads and boundary conditions. So you have a bearing load which has an offset, and then you have a constraint locations in the connection points, which are basically left untouched during the topology optimization, where material is removed from the bulk to reduce the part meeting the structural stiffness or compliance requirements. So you can give different constraints, thickness constraints, manufacturability constraints. So if you want to do something like a casting, then you specify the direction in which we are going to remove the part. If it is milling, then we specify the milling constraints. If it is additive manufacturing, we could specify the overhang constraints to ensure that the part that is designed does not have, say, maybe features which are overhanging by 50 degrees or 60 degrees, so on. And then you can even visually just see here, I mean, what is the process, just to understand like what is the different parts that have been done. So you have a casting which has multiple component to the runners, additive manufacturing, and also milling. So this is a common tool. It is not limited only to additive manufacturing. So we then we use this as a complete end-to-end design optimization solution. So just to summarize, the workflow involved creating a design space, defining the loads, boundary conditions, defining the targets and constraints, and then we can run the simulation to generate different shapes that are, once the simulation is completed, we can generate the concept shapes. So you can see here some of the different concept shapes that will appear based on the satisfaction of the constraints and also the targets. So we can see here the solution. Then we can generate the isosurface values based on the like a slider-based mechanism, where we can choose the level at which we want to consider the mass. So then we come up with a concept for the topology optimization, which gives us a platform to improve the design in an incremental fashion. So now we can then, without going into any refinement, we can just automatically validate the part. But obviously, there will be some manual work that would be required in terms of smoothing the part and so on, to eliminate some of these hot spots through the process of shape optimization and etc. So our solution gives you a complete, easy to visualize set of options to monitor the optimization process, as well as to generate these quick concept shapes based on the VREP results, so which will eventually help us to generate the structural geometry in a very easy manner. So what are the solutions that are going under the hood? So for our topology optimization, As I mentioned, we even go up to a nonlinear optimization solution. Like say you have a part which is undergoing large deformation with contact and friction and so on, which needs to be optimized. So we can do those kind of simulations, like say in this case of a landing gear. So we can use these different constraints, like say for the manufacturability constraints. As you can see, certain parts like overhang structures are eliminated when we do those kind of manufacturability constraints, and so on. And we can then smooth the surface and go in for direct modeling, and also parameterize any features like say the cross section of parts or anything, and validate the part. And since we are having a very strong portfolio of products for 3D modeling, we give that benefit of regenerating the surfaces in a very easy fashion, where you can quickly smoothen out the part and generate certain features which the solver might have kind of ignored in certain locations, and then manually we can inspect the part in the virtual platform, and then we can improve the part features. So, and then improve the design aesthetics, which sometimes are not considered in these kind of optimization solutions. And then we are able to validate this newly smoothened out designed part. And so these kind of overhang constraints, which help in the additive manufacturing space, work by restricting the kind of part features which are generated as the material is being removed to not exceed certain angle of overhang. And these help in a lot of challenges which can come up in support structure identification or orienting the part in the build plate and so on. So these kind of constraints upfront in the design space are helpful in reducing late stage issues or complications from manufacturing standpoint. So as we can then perform KPI based studies, trade-off studies, and as you can see here, say you have two different shapes which need to be which have been generated. So then you can see what is the mass. You can look at the peak stress values that have been identified, and then what are the different and what are the basically the different response of the part for the load cases can all be visualized in a dashboard fashion. And the shape optimization is the process by which we can further refine the design to improve the structural performance and reduce the mass and any local hotspot stresses, and improve the design from overall standpoint. And shape optimization is where we are able to take a legacy part and then generate a topology optimization part and then improve the certain regions to give a more smoother or a refined shape to eliminate these hotspots. So as you can see here in this demo, there are certain kink regions which were generated from the optimization, which have been smoothened out. That is, the kinks which have been generated in the topology optimization have been smoothened out in the shape optimization solution. Additionally, we can also do optimization from an assembly optimization standpoint, where we optimize multiple components in a single assembly. So we create the design spaces, mesh at both the global or the local level, then set up the simulation and manage multiple load cases, and explore different manufacturing methods and perform the final validation of the assembly. So as you can see here, we offer this guided step-by-step framework where you are having these three different parts which need to be optimized. And so we then specify the loads, set up the simulation for the topology optimization, and then let it run and give us these different concept shapes. So we have a load case manager where you can do multiple load cases. we specify the requirements in terms of what are the design space target maximum stiffnesses, weights, and so on for these different parts. Then any manufacturing conditions, like say we giving a milling constraint. And as you can see, the design shape that is generated from these parts is shown here. So we then perform the final validation of the lightweighted part. And then be satisfied on the on whether it meets the requirements. So the next stage, once we have the design, is to prepare the manufacturing process of the additive manufacturing. Manufacturing simulation workflow is done through the Delmia brand of applications on our 3D Experience platform. So it does a complete virtual environment for the manufacturing process simulations. So the workflow involves, especially for additive manufacturing, build planning stage. We can represent the machines. The part that is to be printed along with the machine can be represented and brought in. And we can work on the orientation and the support structure generation and scan path and print generation, which we'll see in the next few slides. So here the step-by-step process is to as much as possible to reuse the process. So as you know, in an industrial setup, so you have the methods development team, which is consists of the expert users who can prepare different templates and rules and then save them, which can be replicated by the field engineers or the design team to be able to involve in kind of an high quality design standpoint. I mean, as you know, I mean, it is challenging to expect the advanced team to be able to apply for each and every project. So their support is obviously obtained through this form of rule templatization and also replication of the different stages of the process by the design team. And so this process helps to reduce the time in the preparation. And so one can plan the part layout, the part setup in the build plate, and there are certain parameters which can be used to invoke the slicing and the scan path generation for the laser path motion. And subsequently, the manufacturing programmer application can output the files which will be used for driving the machine, and also which will also be used for driving the simulation. So you basically are using the same set of data which will help to drive both the machine as well as the simulation. So the machine, it is up to the user. I mean, whether they can generate it in the in-house machine code or whether they are using the output files which are also obtained in neutral formats. And likewise, also these outputs that are generated are seamlessly replicated in the simulation workspace, and to get an as accurate possible um, scan path motion as well as slicing. So we can represent the equipment design in virtual machine standpoint. So if you can see here that we can incorporate different or rather the complete gamut of data that goes into representing these machines, right from the build envelope size to the scanning path type, as well as what are the directions of coating, as well as the speed of recoater. And there are numerous customizable parameters which can also be used. It helps to build your own library. It is not a complete library deck which is provided. So you can have numerous machine vendors which can be replicated here by form of templatization of the machine data. And it helps to reuse the process as much as possible to amplify as well as reduce the time for turnout. So you can retrieve the material and orientation information based on the database that we have, and then use the specification for the material. Then we can templatize the rules for, like, say, nesting or support creation, as well as laser path motion, slicing definitions, so on. So here you can see an example of how a part can be optimally oriented on the build plate. So you have multiple factors. So you have factors which can be addressed by form of slider ticks. So you can see here that we have the slide bars which can drag left or right to reduce or increase the impact of a certain optimization parameter. And then you can say reduce the surface area of the support structures projected onto the build tray, or we can look at the product regions which need support structures, and so on. So all these orientation based evaluations can be done in the virtual environment. And subsequently, we can also create multiple parts which can be printed in one workflow, and then we can orient these parts suitably. And we have collision detection capability. We also understand how to reuse the orientations for parts of certain types. And likewise, if we are generating any supports or any parts, then if the part is repositioned, then the part that is being generated in terms of support also gets realigned to the best level possible. And the next part is to generate the support structures either by form of an automatic creation or manually designing the parts. So you have automatic surface recognition, and edge and points where supports are needed can be generated. We have offer different types of supports, like tree supports, wide supports, and so on. So you can see we can also manually create these different types of supports, because we are having the design capability. We can use the automatic. So in this case, we are showing you here the tree supports, or the grid, as well as the lattice supports, which are generated automatically. And these supports can be generated based on minimizing the creation of the supports on functional surfaces. So we can specify certain regions where supports are not to be generated, and like, say, the green regions where supports can be provided. Additionally, we can create multiple support structures by form of designs in case of certain automated supports are not desired. Then we can manually design the support structures. As you can see in this case, we have a certain internal support which is not on the connected to the build tray. So if we want to, for the sake of support removal, want to have the supports aligned on the build tray, then we can redesign the supports manually and edit it, and then and issue it for printing. So we provide the necessary tools, as you can see here, for the support structure part creation. So the next part of the process is to generate the slicing of one part or the multiple parts. Then we have all the parameters that go in with the different strategies, and we can have an area-wise strategy, or a multi strategy approach for different areas, right, in terms of the thickness of the skin layers as well as the core domains. Then we can change the strategy of slicing between the hatching direction, between each slice to slice. Then we can have multiple rules for the part or the supports by form of the laser path strategy. So we offer some icon-based templatized guided workflow for this slicing and scan path generation. So as you can see here, you have a part which is oriented. A support structure has been generated, as is highlighted. We have assigned the material properties, and then we are basically going to generate the scan and slice path. So we can visualize the scan and slice path, like what is the laser path motion along each scan layer. So as you can see here, based on the scanning strategy, we are able to visualize the laser path motion virtually, and then based on this, we can come up with multiple options depending on whether depending on the say the runtime that is estimated for this. So we can change the say the distance between the laser path motion, or whether the number of squares that go into a say checkboard pattern. All these things we can vary. So the next part is to before we go into the detailed simulation aspect, is a quick simulation along with the supports. So a quick simulation is based on an inherent fast train method called as the Eigenstrain approach, which is based on a library of generated scan paths, and then we automate the simulation through linear analysis and give a kind of a quick gap analysis between the virtually printed versus the as designed part. So just to reiterate, this simulation does not take into account thermal behavior. It is a quick solution based on the fast train method. And once that kind of designer level validation is done, then you can go in for output generation. And to a reasonable extent, we can expect the part to behave in a certain manner. And then once these kind of outputs are extracted, we can then feed them directly into the machines, or we can interface with these machines through their native formats or through these neutral formats. We can also obtain print time as well as cost estimation. We can add new rules to estimate the total print time. We can add print cost as an output, and we can even work on optimizing it based on those kind of parameters, like based on the print time or the print cost. The third stage of our process is called as virtual printing, and we talk about this from the standpoint of a realistic detailing of the design through the process of simulation. So let me go into a bit more detail here. To go into the development which we have carried out, which will help one to kind of understand from where we were to what we are achieved with our new solution technologies. So it started off as in 2014. We started as a technology based on what we call as a chunk type or a kind of a like a domain replacement technology. Like you remove the first part of the design and then slowly add the domains one by one as the laser path is moving. And so that was how we started off with our additive manufacturing simulation. And then in 2015 and 2016, we developed what is called as a mesh intersection toolkit. So it was now becoming a toolkit which was delinking the mesh with the CAD design. So we can have a certain mesh or different meshes for the same design, and then we are not limited or restricted by form of creating meshes based on the geometry boundaries. So that mesh intersection toolkit was developed, which kind of accelerated our development to the print to perform capabilities, which leveraged the end-to-end solutions that we offer from these different brands to reach an extended simulation framework which covers the entire ecosystem of the additive manufacturing process. So the virtual printing involves process simulation where you have a certain part where we have can we have the little bit of you can mute certain members. Thank you. So in the process simulation standpoint, we are looking at studying basically the distortions and stresses, and eventually any build failures that could occur. So we can also look at the properties of the material in a localized standpoint through microstructure evaluations. So these process simulations enable us to give a lot of insights into the performance of the part, because these are some data which are not obtained from the real world printing. So during printing, incorporating thermocouples or identifying residual stresses and all that are very challenging. So virtual simulation helps to give us a better understanding of the printing process. So we use the Abacus solution to do a simulation of the multiphysics analysis. That is basically a thermal analysis coupled with the structural analysis. So this gives a complete map of the laser heating the powder and generate solidification phenomenon based on phase transformation technologies through subroutines that we have in working in the back end, which will give a very accurate representation of the stresses and strains. We then can also do post-processing simulations, like say, like an EDM process where we are also removing the support structures, as in this case of a cantilever. You can see here the part of the supports is machined out. Then what is the residual stresses subsequent to that? In the fourth part, you can see once the part is printed, we can look at service loads to see where the peak stresses are hitting and so on. So the additive manufacturing simulation capability gives us a complete comprehensive additive workflow solution, and we are able to use optimization of parts to virtually test and manufacture these builds. So we are then leveraging the multiphysics technology to provide a complete simulation capability for in-service loading cases. So what are the details of the simulation framework that we are using? So the process simulation framework for additive manufacturing is the set of tools that we include in the framework for modeling the evolving boundary of the material as the energy input is progressing through time. So the material modeling is very key in this workflow. And so then for different processes, we need to generate a framework which will address these different processes, like say powder bed or energy deposition or polymer based extrusion and so on. And then we work with different machine vendors who have their own formats and so on. So the simulation has to take into account these challenges as well as complications. So what is our simulation strategy? Our key focus has been on, in addition to the mesh intersection toolkit development, was on the material modeling process specifics. So you can see that the heat affected zone modeling is very critical to be able to simulate the stresses, distortions, and obtain the tolerances, and eventually calibrate the gap between the design versus the build. So which is all critical. And so the simulation strategy addresses the right from the physics standpoint to the end customer satisfaction or the return on investment of a additive manufacturing program. So this virtual printing process is based on a guided simulation assistant for powder bed fusion process. So this is on our Simulia brand of applications on the 3D Experience platform. And as you can see here, we have a configurable general purpose process simulation framework, which can be used for setting up these models. So you can see some examples of how we are able to remove the supports, and you can see the cantilever warping and the bottom left animation. And on the right side animation, you can see the guided templatized workflow for setting up the virtual printing simulation on the build. So we set up the thermal analysis, the structural analysis, and then the solver does the rest. So the user is not required to go in for a step-by-step process simulation setup. So it is all done in an automatic fashion. So this is, as I said, the key highlights are a guided simulation assistant, which works with a configurable general purpose simulation framework. And we are having a capability to simulate the in-service part performance once the part has been generated. So what is the key technologies that go into the simulation framework? First, as I mentioned, is the mesh additive manufacturing tool intersection kit. So basically, you have from the process simulation the data, including the power for the laser, the rate of deposition, the recoater times, the build, any parameters of the build which are adapted, and so on. And the toolkit provides the capability to come up with geometry intersections of this virtual tool along with any arbitrary mesh. So as you can see, you have different schematic representations which need to intersect with the element. So you have one-dimensional elements, rectangular elements, three-dimensional box elements. So how do we link it with the mesh? So you have, say, a laser path motion, which is treated as a point line motion. A recoater motion could be like along the same axis. So it is a infinite line motion. Like typically, as material is being added in extrusion process, it is done in kind of a rectangular treated in a rectangular layer by layer fashion. In the case of complex heating models in 3 dimensions, it is like representing the schematic by a box for the mesh intersection toolkit. So each of these data is then aggregated into a series of space and time events, and then we can input these into the lumped representation and toolpath input used to simulate the location of a tool, like say the laser source or the recoater. So that was about the mesh intersection toolkit, which kind of delinks the geometry with the mesh. So the next standpoint of the framework is how do we handle the material properties as well as the laser path energy transfer, which is key to the thermal capability, thermal structural analysis. So we have the high fidelity data from the mesh as well as the space-time refinement, and we have programmed in with the built-in subroutines the heat flux physics. So which is having certain parameters like say the beam size, or it could be certain power of the beam as a parameter, and some few more, which will which is basically converted into some form of a heat load, and then you can activate. So as you can see in this, you have certain local region. The image on right, you can see that if you take a certain volume of a domain, then based on the scanning strategy within that, the heat is generated, and those elements are activated as they are being heated and solidified. So in a sequence of events, we are handling these new surface generation as a free surface heat convection radiation problem, which will give us a complete solution of the thermal behavior. So you have all the three thermal physics which is acting here, right from the conduction within the existing built part region, along with the surface level convection as the new surfaces are generated, as well as radiation to the ambient. So this kind of a thermomechanical solution framework gives a good feedback for the build performance. So as you can see, we can get the thermal gradients as well as the distortions and the stress result. So in this case, we are looking at a nested part print. So we talked about the fast inherent strain method. So what is the difference between this and that? So basically, in the fast strain method, which is a designer level tool, we are more meshing it with some cubic voxel mesh, which doesn't completely capture the surface in all smoothness. So in the earlier thermal structural analysis, we mesh it using tetrahedron mesh, which can give you good structure representation. In the case of fast strain method, there is some approximation, but we are still able to get a reasonably good, depending on how good the eigenstrain library is. So we can also virtually incorporate sensors, monitor the distortions. Like say you have in this case a impeller blade, which is being printed. So we are printing this blade, and what can happen is, say, for certain design orientations or support structure which are lacking, say in the case of the right side, one of the blades, as it is being printed and without support structures, is started to warp. So as the part is warping, it affects or interferes with the recoater, which is depositing the, basically depositing the powder and flattening it out. So in that way, the part which was underlying it warps and comes and hits the recoater blade, which can either damage the part or it can damage even the recoater and so on. So to reduce this impact, we can even represent that through sensors in our recoater collision capability. To add on more value, so obviously failure is to be avoided. But unfortunately, any solidification process involves some form of a stress relieving phenomenon which causes these kind of cracks. So simulation is a very powerful tool. Based on a criteria framework, we can identify regions where crack is a potential initiator, and so we can have, like, say, stress-based criteria or strain-based criteria, and then we can basically predict the crack initiation propagation. We can also simulate multiple heating or cooling sources of different shapes through via multi-laser system. So as you can see here, we have multiple heat source processes which can work parallelly and in this case we are having the complete design, and the part heat flow process is visualized here. We can also incorporate virtual sensors. We can identify what is the solution of temperature at any point inside the domain. So as you can see in the graph, so we can activate the historical output. So over time, what is the temperature? And then we can find out at what point is the heat being applied at a certain location, and what is the time it takes to dissipate the heat to a steady state. And those kind of details give insight into, say, any hotspot regions or any weak regions, which we can eventually correlate with the part validation. So then, as a result, based on this, we can change our scan strategy suitably. And once the part is virtually printed, the stress solution along with the temperature solution is going to be at a steady state. We can eventually go in for some sort of a annealing or some sort of a stress relieving process to reduce the residual stresses virtually. So, and then as I mentioned earlier, we can even do post-print treatment by removing certain support structures which have been tied and then initially itself. And then once the part is printed, those ties will transfer the loads in terms of any distortion. And but eventually they need to be removed by form of some sort of a machining, which can be activated through the removal of these kind of interfacial constraints. And any service loads can be estimated in terms of how it is performing. We can look at the end of the build stress state, any in-service loads, in-service deformation, and stresses. One key advantage which we have seen be used a lot in the industry is for repair analysis. So you have a certain part. It is not always possible to kind of build a new part. So any part which has been functioning and has any repairs kind of is a limiting factor in the performance. So it can be quickly repaired. We have the legacy design. So if any repair strategy is to be evaluated, so we can virtually simulate it. Say in case of a welding process or any part which is to be added, then we can simulate the like, say, laser welding motion in this repair analysis, and then find out what is the best way to ensure that the part repair is satisfactory and is able to meet the subsequent post-failure criteria in terms of part performance. And in addition to that, durability is also a very important topic. So we need to study what is the residual stress, and based on the methodology in which we are estimating the fatigue life, we can assess the fatigue life, and also improve our design if there are any challenges which are observed. To achieve all this, I talked about two key frameworks. One was on the heat flux modeling. The second was on the mesh toolkit. The third aspect is on the material property, how it is predicted. So here we take a multi-scale approach. So right from the material behavior from a micro mechanical standpoint to the performance at the post solidification standpoint. So at the micro scale level, that is before the print, we need to do phase field simulations which are handled internally, and then the material properties are obtained through internal heavy homogenization, which will give us a quick map of the properties for the overall domain. So then we can give the thermal mechanical properties for different types of materials as well. So the same concepts apply whether it be it metal or polymer and so on. The next part is during the print, how do we map the material evolution? So as the realistic temperature solution which has been estimated progresses through the design as the material is being solidified. So we need to account for the phase transformation in a very scientific manner to as accurately capture the behavior. So we are looking at things like say grain nucleation and grain growth, and also the solidification characteristics like say porosity which are generated, which gives a lot of insight into the strength and stiffness of the part. So the part performance after the print is done through representation of the mechanical properties as a temperature dependent behavior. Say like say any material which is at a higher temperature is going to be softer. So taking that as a relationship between temperature and material, so you can represent the properties of say the Young's modulus or the plasticity as a function of temperature, which will be represented internally by the solver, which takes into account the stiffness as a function of the temperature of the part at any location. So in situ, we can calibrate the material and estimate the fatigue life in a more accurate manner. So here we show some of the details in terms of the validations that are being done. So one is to validate the behavior according to a material microscale model, where we do some phase transformation RVE based simulations. The next part is on evolving or modeling the phase evolution. So you have some certain kinetic phase functionality equations which need to be modeled to predict the melt pool or the grain size evolution. And the third part, which we'll talk about towards the end, is on the material performance, where we can create lattice structures by form of replicatable or repeatable patterns, which are useful in terms of lightweighting as well. So let us look some of the validations, because as we all know in simulations, the quality of output is as good as the quality of input. So we need to give a lot of attention to detail for these achieving a maximum accuracy or fidelity through our process validations. So the validation effort we do for multiple types of additive manufacturing. Multiple types of additive manufacturing. Am I audible? Can anyone confirm? Hello? Could the coordinator confirm? Thank you. So the validation efforts that are taken are for multiple processes, because there are a number of machines that have been developed for these kind of additively manufacturable parts, right from the SLM to the sintering process to for polymers through the FDM, as well as for composites through EDAM and so on. So you have these different processes which are all encompassed under our additive technologies. So we are working on metal as well as deposition based systems. So we are looking at ability to model metals like popular additive manufacturing powders involving titanium or steel and aluminum, as well as polymers of different kinds and even composites. So to address all these, we need to take into account complex physics or the changes in the physics between, say, both the metals as well as the polymers. So our Abacus finite element solver has the constitutive models which account for the complex nonlinear behavior of nonlinear non-homogeneous behavior of these materials. And so first part or the first chain of the link is on being able to accurately represent the materials. So a lot of effort goes into that validations. And the way it is done is through different layer type of coupon test level deformations or even part level validations. So as you can see, we showed the bridge which was printed with supports made of Inconel material. And so once you remove the supports, what is the level of warp due to the relieving of the stresses? So that can be validated. It was been published as part of the development by our R&D team. And likewise, they write there are a lot of challenges and competitions which occur for these developers in terms of whose solution provides a good validation or simulation data to match the test. And so those kind of validations have been done for even steel material, and these developments are all part of our solver now. So just to show in more fine detail, so you can see here the part which was printed, the distortions or the distortion profile matches to a reasonable level, taking into account the anisotropic expansion coefficients for the Inconel 625. So this double bridge cantilever, you can see there was some blind match distortions which were done. That is, the simulation did not have the experimental data, so a blind simulation was done, and then the result matched very well with the test data. So there was no way by which the model could be tweaked. So the model that was incorporated and used upfront was able to capture the test data to a very good accuracy. And so the thermomechanical eigenstrain analysis were compared with the measured distortions in both the cases to validate it. And for the actual part level, so this is a part of a excavator arm, which was printed by a big area additive manufacturing machine. And so this is printed with steel and a part of the research work done by Oak Ridge National Lab. And further, additionally, to capture the microstructural solidification accurately, you need to go in for microstructural validation also. So as you can see here, work published focused on grain morphology validation through phase field simulations to identify which are the regions where you can have porosity, where there is not enough good fusing of the powder, and possibility of defects which can occur. So these simulations give a lot of insights. So you can plot contour variables. You can contour variables like, say, the alpha fraction of the phase, or you can even look at the kind of residual life also for different locations and so on. Other metallurgical validations are shown here. So you can take localized solutions. So you can also take into account parts which are printed in cruciform form, like, say, then machined out, and then you can test the tensile specimens to understand the macro level behavior of these materials. So instead of going for localized properties, you can also test it from uniaxial test specimens which are printed, machined out, and then tested, and use those kind of data for mapping the constitutive equations. So here in this slide, I would just like to point you out to the web link that is shown at the bottom right, where you can look at, you can access it and look at a lot of you can get a lot of information about our solutions and tools and technologies that we offer for additive manufacturing. The last part of the workflow is, or the link, is to close the gap between the as designed versus the as printed part. So here the objective is to extract, once the printing is done, once you have validated it, there is a distortion in the virtual printing. So what do? We then extract the deformation and then do a morphing of the original design and compensate that deviation. So you do a negative of the distortion to change your original design. And so this digital compensation can be done on this part. So for example, you have a part here, and so you have an analysis which is carried out, which gives you this displacement vector. So then you take the vector as a format file, and then change your original design and find out the new design which is having a compensation negatively, so that you can then use that to print. And a lot of aspects of lightweighting without any design alterations is through the lattice design or lattice generation. So we have capability to generate these different types of lattices which can eventually be printed. So you can also generate the CAD, which will be helpful in doing your FES simulation. So you can see we are working on new technologies like, say, beam level analysis or optimization, which can then be sized to generate the fill thicknesses or fill volume. So these, how do we analyze lattice structure? So it becomes quite challenging if we have to mesh everything. So we go in for a lattice type beam analysis. So in terms of our solution, we have it on both the cloud as well as on-premise solution. So we work on both these types of cloud license models as well as on-premise license models. So we use the cloud-based for any burst computational requirements, or an on-premise in case of a continued availability of the capability. So to give you a bird's eye view of our strategy, so we have for end-to-end, right from the design to the simulation solution, leveraging multiple industries solutions and in a connected application format. So with that, I would like to then I'd be happy if you take the time to visit our website, where you can get more information. We also have links for webinars which you can attend, which will give much more information than what I could offer here in this platform. And so I do hope that you find the information useful, and the session that we had right now useful. And I'd be happy to take any questions now. So I would also, I believe you can also have my contact information. So anytime, feel free to get in touch with us. We'll be glad to be of help. Thank you.
So now I request all the participants, if you are having any queries regarding this presentation, so you can ask, sir. Now we are having enough time.
So there's a question on in terms of whether we offer dedicated course. Yes, we do offer. So please get in touch with us. So I'll share my email address through the coordinator. So we hope to hear from you.
Okay, sir. So right now, have you presented some case studies how to do this particular additive manufacturing simulation step by step in this particular talk?
So yeah, we covered end-to-end the process, and
Okay.
so how our solution or technologies that we offer helps to prepare the design as well as the virtual printing simulation.
Okay, sir. Any other question from any other participants? Any other question? So one more question.
So we work on we do work with a lot of academic institutions. So in terms of projects and helping the students with some certain projects were based on this. So just please do get in touch with us. We'll be happy to discuss with you on on what projects you're working on, and also where we can where our solutions will help you, so that it can be a mutual benefit. So please do feel free to get in touch with us. So I hope my email address is available with you, sir, so you can feel free to share it.
Yes,
to
sir.
any of the
I
audience.
will be sharing with the participants your email ID. Sir, is there any platform through which we can, our students, BTech and MTech students, will get an internship program on this additive manufacturing solutions?
So internship programs at our company.
Yes, sir. At your company, and how to get trained in this particular additive manufacturing module? Because your other modules of Abacus is different one. I'm working on Abacus. I'm using Abacus for my sheet metal forming operations and other applications.
Right. So what the solution that we offer is on the New Age platform. So there is a lot of initiation and training that goes with it. So we do have to. I mean, we have our we used to have a program for where the students were engaged in sort of internship programs. But right now, I am not privy to the information in terms of what is the status of the internship program due to this COVID situation. So I'll have a. If you have any members who are interested, do feel free to get into touch with us. I will pass on the request to the concerned team, who will be
Okay,
able to offer better clarity.
okay. So, is there any charges for this particular internship and training programs?
So
For the students?
I'll have to check
Check.
with the concerned with the team, because I'm part of the technical team.
Okay, okay.
So I am not privy to that information. So we will
Okay.
definitely I can pass on your message,
Okay, sir.
and then I'll definitely follow up on the to see
Because I
what is
also need
the.
to learn this additive manufacturing
Sure.
simulation, especially in Abacus, because I am previously using Abacus for other applications also.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, please do get in touch with us. Yeah, we'll
Okay,
be happy.
any other question from any other participant? Otherwise, we will complete this particular session. Yes, sir. So all the participants, Dr. Dwarak Krishnan has shared his email ID in the chat box, from where you can check it and record it for the future communication. Okay, sir. So
Thank you. Thank you very
thanks a
much for
lot
the opportunity.
for joining us, sir. So it is a pleasure hearing from you, and we have made a lot about the additive manufacturing process, especially from your company and its solutions. And we will look forward to invite you for more such technical programs which will be organized in future in our institute. And
Sure.
very nice and informative talk you have delivered. And as well as I will also would like to thank Mr. Prabhat Katyal also. Through him, I communicated with you, and you have voluntarily accepted this particular invitation and talk. And thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity to talk here in this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You can leave, sir.
Thank you.
So by this, we are now ending our session of day 4, and this is the third session. So in this day, we have organized 3 lectures. First one will be first talk will be delivered by Dr. Jagdish from NIT NIT Raipur, and he has delivered his talk on the soft computing applications and in additive manufacturing, in advanced manufacturing processes. And the second lecture is also from the industry expert, Dr. Tushar Sharma. He is from ARK Info Solutions. He has also delivered his talk, and he has also given a rigorous and exhaustive session to give the demonstration of how to simulate this particular additive manufacturing processes, and he has also shown all the capabilities of the ANSYS, especially in the additive manufacturing domain. And after that, finally, we have Dr. Dwarak Krishnan from Dassault System India Private Limited, and he has also delivered his talk about the process capabilities of Abacus and Similia about the additive manufacturing processes. So I hope you all are learned a lot from these sessions of this day 4 in this Atal FDP program, which is organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering, LNCT Bhopal. So we will look forward to you, and I will start day 5. There will be 2 sessions only, because we have already completed 12 sessions and 2 more sessions are remaining. One will be delivered by the Dr. Ankit Nayak on the additive manufacturing processes and 3D printing, and one will be the non-technical session which will be delivered by the Dr. Yashwant Mehta. He is a professor from NIT Srinagar, and he will be delivering this lecture on the Vedic life, importance of Vedic life and war-free life. So I request all of you to be with those sessions, and after that there will be quiz test also, followed by the first 2 sessions of the day 5, and after that I will post the e-feedback link, so you have to fill the form. And from 4 to 5 we will be organizing the valedictory function of this Atal FDP program, and I request all the participants to be there with us during the valedictory program. It is one of the important program, so kindly join in that particular activity. So right now I am stopping this today's session. Okay.